I'm going to read out a list of things and you're going to tell me if they're overrated or underrated. The first thing we're going to start with, Lefty forks, which is a Cannondale product, which is a one-sided suspension fork.
Is there an option of saying overrated and underrated?
No, it has to be one or the other.
You can if you can explain it and justify it, I think.
Okay, so
I'd be interested to know.
forks, suspension forks, underrated. Lefty forks, overrated. It's just, it's one of those things. The cycling industry, they're making something that's not needed. You need a suspension. Cannondale could just use a normal fork. Fox makes ones. MRP makes them. RockShox makes them. Öhlins makes them. Just use one of theirs. Stop making something that's proprietary just to your brand, which you need special wheels and special everything to set it up to.
Does it make it cheaper?
If you use the other stuff, yes, it'll be cheaper than Lefty. Lefty fork's not cheap.
You think it would be? It's less. It's half the parts.
Exactly, but it's.
Do you mean cheaper to produce or cheaper for the customer?
Well, I would assume for both.
I mean, I don't know the numbers in this because I don't sell them.
How much does a normal suspension fork cost?
Anything from 350 quid upwards. You can get for good quality. I'm talking RockShox, Fox kind of level stuff. You can get cheaper ones.
So there's two Lefties here. Both of them are on Merlins. Obviously, both Cannondale. Yeah. There's one that's £475 and there's another one that's £750.
Yeah, so they're not cheap. It's only half a fork, so it should be half the price.
I am going to say they are overrated because...
We've agreed about something for the first time ever.
I don't personally care about suspension forks.
Okay. Yet.
Therefore, I think they're overrated. The next one, don't talk about this for 4 years, please.
I'm not going to.
Ceramic jockey wheels.
Underrated if people knew why. Overrated for the reason most people are buying it. Most people buying ceramic jockey wheels are buying them for speed and to lose, to save watts. I think in that sense, it's completely overrated.
I agree with that.
Underrated in if you have really good quality ceramic jockey wheels, ones that won't wear out, which there's very few of, your shifting will be better much longer. So essentially, if you're buying them to have durability, to not have corrosion, not have rust, and just to spin smoother, and if they didn't wear out, it just means you're shifting, because your jockey wheels essentially determines whether your bike shifts well or not. You can have the best setup, electronic, everything, with worn out jockey wheels, your gears aren't going to work very well.
But surely you can buy steel or whatever they are, jockey wheel bearings for like a couple of quid.
No, steel, because steel will rust. So
whatever they're normally made of. What are they normally made of?
Chromium steel. Yeah, so the cost penny. Normal jockey wheels use chromium steel bearings.
So presumably a ceramic jockey wheel would cost you lots of money. A non-ceramic one would cost you
pennies.
Very little.
Yeah.
So surely...
Depending on your group set. No, because certain group set... But that's what I mean. So some ceramic jockey wheels or like OSPW from Ceramic Speed can cost you anything up to 1,000 quid to add that. So let's stick with overrated. I've got some new ceramic jockey wheels coming for my bike that can't wear out. They can't corrode. It's essentially...
I could never, ever put this product as underrated, ever. I just couldn't. Because...
you could put underrated at wastage.
I've ridden a lot of bikes. I've had a lot of group sets. And I think I've replaced my jockey wheels once on a bike. And still, I probably didn't even need to.
Your shifting wouldn't have been great. But yes, you are right. It's probably the last thing that I would
I'll talk about my own shifting, thank you. I know how to shift a bike. It's never been so horrible that I've even noticed it.
Yeah.
I think a knackered chain, I
on
would
the flip
notice.
side, I go through about 2 sets of jockey wheels a year on my gravel bike.
So it's getting to a point where... You work in a bike shop though, so you
waste, yes, but now
you waste stuff.
I've got
You're like, like pros, because they're like, people go like, oh, but they do this and they do that. Well, yeah, because they're constantly putting new cassettes on and new chains on and new brake pads in and new tires and new this. And
I'm not doing it because I want to. It's,
new bar tapes and all that. You're like bike shop people are the next rung down from that.
I ran the same bar tape for 3 years, so
for ages. So it's just very easy for him to be, I'll just change them twice a year. I've changed my. I don't change my stuff, and you don't need to. And therefore, ceramic jockey wheels are pointless and overrated.
Okay,
even if you need performance, don't care.
Can I suggest, since this is our first guest on the podcast, is there anything that you would like to add to the overrated or underrated category?
Oh, have you put him on the
Oh, I mean, you've got
Does he
time to
know
think.
this? Does he know?
No, you don't know. But I mean, like, take 10 minutes if you want. And we'll just cut it.
No, I've got something. We talked about on Saturday.
Boom.
It's very controversial. Being South African, I think the most overrated thing in the world is mudguards.
What?
Yeah.
That's needlessly controversial.
Well, no, it's just like
You think they're overrated?
something like a good arse saver works well, keeps you dry.
That is a mudguard.
Yes, but like these full ones with the flaps to the ground. As a bike mechanic, it's just a nightmare working on bikes when there's mudguards.
Oh, yeah, they're
you have to move
horrible
stuff.
to work
Yeah, and
on.
it just kind of caught. And I think because of that, I've gone so far the wrong way that I absolutely hate mudguards. Even you get bike manufacturers saying these mudguards are specifically developed to go on their bike, and the mudguards just don't go on those bikes easily.
You can botch a mudguard, but if you have to botch, because I've fitted a few over the years, you'll end up botching them, and they just don't. They're not actually on right. The angles are wrong. They're kind of up on one side, down on the other, but they work. And as someone that commuted in London a lot, all year round in all weather, having mudguards is just like a commuting godsend. Or if you do winter group rides.
It is true though. Sometimes you go. I mean, you always fit mine, so this is probably testament to your work. But you end up going over a bump, and then it just skews to the side, and it's got going catching on your wheel the whole time.
I feel attacked.
And specialize in Cannondale and Canyon and all these brands that come up with all these like really wild things that nobody needed. The redesign headsets and the redesign chain sets and wheel dishing and all these things. Please, can those three companies just come together and redesign the way mudguards go onto bikes and come up with something that's new? Because everything else is being overdeveloped and mudguards are underdeveloped. Come up with a new way to fit them. Tailfin, make me a mudguard.